Hello, trumpet players. This has been one of the most difficult videos for me to make, and the reason why is because I do not want to sound like I'm putting other trumpet players down. What we're going to talk about today is how do you recognize when you're listening to bad trumpet players. So the trick here is doing this in a way that isn't using other trumpet players as examples, right? So if I say, let use this guy as an example. Look, he's doing this and that, this and that, and then I'm saying, well, I don't do that. That the truth is, um, great trumpet playing, bad trumpet playing is you can stack us all up. None of us have reached total trumpet nirvana yet, right? None of us are there. Nobody. Okay? So where we stand in that, now, I think it's important for all of us to recognize those people who we think are above us. And I think that's how I got this to work this time, is I'm shifting my focus. I'm focusing more on comparing me to the people I think are better than I am. And if we can talk about what makes them better than me, then you can apply that now and look at other players maybe online and you make your own decision. I'm not going to point people out for you. I will say this though. I did this video about um, the high note trap. And I do believe the high note trap is a big deal. The high note trap is when it's not just really high notes, when you are distracted by the easy things to recognize, right? The high note, and you can see that video here. So putting that aside, this is sort of like, I guess, a follow-up to the high note trap because in the high note trap, I pointed out that this is going on. In this video, I want to help you see the good stuff in great trumpet players. Because it's not, like I said in that video, it's not so easy to hear. I said see, it's not so easy to hear those things. So let's look at what some of those things are, okay? Well, one of the first things is that and we're going to use just classical music as an example now, only because it's not that this isn't the same for jazz, but jazz is a little bit more complicated because in jazz, we do some of this stuff on purpose, right? So, um, so yeah, we wanna be clear about that. Now, let's just start with the first thing. Um, when we play a note, the tone quality of the note, from beginning to end, should be consistent. The more consistent that tone quality is from the beginning of the note to the end of the note, the better the trumpet player. Okay? And this is supposed to be just as true for long notes as it is for short notes. And it's hard for me to fake this stuff, but I want to give you an example of a bad long note. Now, it's kind of hard to do that without changing the pitch a little bit, and that's actually part of what we're talking about because pitch and tone are connected, okay? So we are talking partially about pitch. Uh, Anytime that a trumpet player holds a note and the pitch changes while you're playing, that's not a good, what I just played now, that's bad trumpet playing. And here's the thing, is it happens more on short notes than it does on long notes. I just did the long note version now just so you could hear it. Okay. Now, what if you have, let's say just the C major scale, right? Now, it's very hard for me to do this on purpose, bad trumpet playing, but that was a pretty good example. Okay. Some of the notes changed shape, changed tonal quality, even though it's a short note. It was long enough for the tone to change inside the note. Listen to that again. I won't be able to exactly replicate that, but listen to this. Okay? That's just horrible trumpet playing. What we want now, I'm giving you the non-fake version. I'm trying to take every note and make it the same from the beginning of the note to the end of the note. Okay? You know what happens a lot of times? Listen to the last note. This is something I used to do. I fixed it in the early 90s thanks to Richard Schaefer. He's the one that pointed it out to me. I already had like the nice short notes, but when you get to the bottom note, it was especially bad on low notes, right? I would do this. I had to fake that. Um, but that happens a lot. There's trumpet players that do that. That's a bad trumpet player. Okay? And I used to do that. Okay? So, um, what else makes a bad trumpet player? Uh, when the notes from one note to the next are inconsistent, and they can be inconsistent in the attack. So like, and I kind of did that already on that last example, the last bad example, you know. Ah, that's like way over. Right? You hear how inconsistent those notes are one to the next. You know, I talked in a recent video about being supernatural. Well, it's not natural to play the notes exactly the same one after the other. Okay? That's not natural. So it's very difficult actually to have that kind of uniform attack, uniform tone, uniform um, uh, style. What is style, by the way? Because that's another thing that helps differentiate bad trumpet players from good trumpet players. Um, I am, every time I go judge high school trumpet players, it's amazing to me how little style, it's like style just isn't taught here. Um, to me, by the way, when I say style, I'm talking about note shapes, vibrato, stuff like that. Um, and, but specifically right now, talking about note shapes, because, you know, what's more common here is note shapes that are sort of like ba 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 ba. So like if you're doing the C major scale, ba 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 ba. That's what I hear so much. There's no shape to the note. Here's what we want. Okay, that's in my opinion a good staccato um uh style, right? And the only time it's okay for there to be no shape to the note is when we're playing legato. Well, that's still shape. So basically, when you're slurring, it's okay to not have shape to the note. You still have to have shape for the line. Now let's talk about that. Okay? If you're playing a melody, you want to have phrasing. And phrasing is when the intensity rises. And in this case, we're going to talk about intensity in terms of dynamics, but it's more than just dynamics. Okay? Let me think of well, I'm going to have to improvise something. That's a good one. We'll do Amazing Grace. Okay? That grew in intensity and then it came down in intensity. Here's what we don't want. We don't want it like that. That's not music. In fact, one of the things I tell my students, that second version, computers used to do that. Like, if you're using uh, music software, computers used to play like that. When you'd push the playback, they used to play like that. They've added now what they call human playback. And human playback doesn't play the way I just played anymore. They fixed that in the computer playback. And yet, today, what we have in the schools, for some reason, is that same approach. You know what I think happens? Is we think, when it says mezzo forte, that every note that you play in that range where it says mezzo forte is supposed to be mezzo forte. And that's just not true. That's just a general bar park. Music has ups and downs. Music has beautiful curves. And if you're not doing that, and it's not just on things like Amazing Grace, it's not just on lyrical stuff. You can make music happen in any kind of. I'm going to improvise something. This had the same shape to it. It grew in intensity and then it came back down again. If you don't hear that when you're listening to somebody, that somebody isn't very good. And like I said, the way I'm presenting this, the main point I'm trying to make here is that there are players far, far, far better than me that you should be listening to. I'm not going to tell you don't listen to my music. I think if someone listens to my music, they should listen to it because they like it. But if you're listening for an education, you should be listening to somebody else, not me. And that sounds very self-defeating, right? There's another word, I can't remember what it is. Like where I'm putting myself down. I'm not putting myself down. I like my music. And I'm still working on being more, higher up on that scale that I'm talking about and the way I play. I'm still working on my attacks. I'm still working on making the notes more consistent one to the next. I'm still working on making the notes the same sound all the way through. I'm still working on my intonation. We haven't talked about intonation except for in the context of tone, but I'm still working on that. And guess what? All of us are. And that's why I stopped the other videos, why I didn't post them on this subject before, is because we're all in the same boat. We're just at different I don't like that term, different places in the journey or whatever. Um, but it's true. We're all at a different place. But the question is, who should you be listening to get your ears trained? Going back to the high note thing, right? The high note trap. The guys that sound impressive because they can play high. I can tell you that most of those guys online don't have the stuff that I'm talking about. Most of the YouTube characters. And I'm not putting them down. I think, it's great what they do, and as long as they, they should be striving also, right? And if they're not, that's their thing. I'm not going to put them down, okay? But you need to know that if, because, uh, and this is the part that made me not keep one of the other videos. There are high note trumpet players on YouTube that play worse than my junior high students in regards to the stuff I'm sharing with you today. Okay? So, let me wrap this up real quick. Basically, what I'm telling you is don't listen to them, don't listen to me. I have a page on my website that's got a recommended listening list for classical players. I would, if I were you and you're concerned about being a better trumpet player, you need to surround your ears, saturate your ears with the sound that those guys make. Okay? So really, if there's people say that you have to have a call to action. That's your call to action. I want you to start listening to the real players. Don't listen to me, and don't listen to those guys that are worse than a junior high player just because they play high. Okay? Don't be listening if you want to listen for the fun of it, that's something else. But if you're listening for your education, you shouldn't be listening to me and you shouldn't be listening to them. Okay? Because there's some awesome, awesome, awesome trumpet players out there. I hope to one day be one of them. I'm not there now. So yes, you should be listening to those guys. The link is going to be down in the description. It's a page where you basically you can click and go to their website if they have one, or a wiki page or something. And then the other link will take you to a YouTube search that's got their so it just does the search for you. You click on it and it's already got the search going of videos of that trumpet player playing. There's so many awesome, awesome trumpet players. And you can hear the stuff that I'm telling you about if you spend more time listening to them and less time listening to the high note guys. Okay? I'm not saying that everyone who plays high is automatically a bad player, and I'm not putting them down. They're on the same journey. Okay? But it's important for you to be able to know when you're listening to somebody that's playing at a junior high level. Okay? Well, there you go. That's what I have for you today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask below. Other than that, really, really, really go to my website, click on some of those links. It's a long, long list of great players. Okay? All right, there you go. God bless you. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.